Hare Krishna. Did everybody receive one copy of Mathura Prabhu? These Prabhus in the front. They haven't received it. Right here, Prabhuji. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Krishna, Jayo Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana. Jaya Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarvamanohara Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Krishna Dasa Koye Nama Krishna Dasa Koye Nama Jaya Radha Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madhavan Jaya Radha Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madhavan Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Jaya Rama Jaya Gopalnath Ji, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Gopalnath Ji, Jaya Srinath Ji. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jaya Prahlad Shiva, Jaya Prahlad Shiva, Jaya Prahlad Shiva, Jaya Prahlad Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Aradhya Bhagwan Brajeshu Talayas Taddham Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadu Varge Nataya Kalpita Srimat Bhagavad Purana Yamalam Prema Puma Thomaha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matedam Nayatra Yatra Araha Ajanulambito Bhujau Kanakaya Vidhato Sankirtane Pitaravo Kamalaya Vishwambharo Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagatam Karo Priyakaro Karunavataru Shrivanta Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridiyantastha Bhadrani Vidunoti Surutsata Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastiti Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayavudhirate Nigamakалпатaro Galitam Phalam Shukham Khadravamrutam Samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muraho Rasika Bhumi Bhavuka Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Thank you. The whole thing with the table. Hare Krishna. Today, in chronological order, We will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, text number 44. That's good. Thank you. Itam bhavena kathito Bhagwan Bhagvat Tamaha Netam Bhavena hi param Drashtum arhati surya Itam bhavena kathito Bhagwan Bhagvatamaha Netham bhave nahi param Drashtum arhati suryaha Anybody else? Itam bhavena kathito Bhagwan Bhagvatamaha Netam bhavena hi param Drashtum arhati surya Itam bhavena kathitito Bhagwan Bhagvatamaha Netam bhavena hi param Drashtum arhanti suryaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai. Kindly repeat, Itham, in these features. Bhavena, the matter of creation and destruction. Katitaha, describe. Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead. Bhagvat Tamaha, by the great transcendentalist. No, not. Itham, in this. Bhavena, features. He, only. Param, most glorious. Drashtum, to see. Arhanti, deserve. Surayaha, great devotees. The great transcendentalist thus described, please repeat, the great transcendentalist thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of His different energies, He is more than a simple creator and destroyer. For there, in his feature of Ananda, or his pleasure feature, this pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only, and not by others. The impersonalist is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahman realization. Greater than the impersonalist is the mystic who sees the Lord in his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But there are pure devotees who take part in the direct pleasure, Ananda, potency of the Lord by factual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode, called the Vaikuntha planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remain with his associates and enjoys transcendental loving services by his pure devotees in different transcendental humors. The pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of that devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of the creation and take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. The Bhagavad Gita 1855 confirms this. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yascha asmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. By development of pure devotional service, one can factually know the Lord as he is and thus be trained in the bona fide service of the Lord and be allowed to enter into the direct association of the Lord in so many capacities. The highest glorious association with the Lord is made possible in the planet of Golok Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna enjoys himself with the gopis and his favorite animals, the Surbi cows. A description of this transcendental land of Krishna is given in the Brahma Samhita, which is considered by Lord Sri Chaitanya to be the most authentic literature in this connection. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyan Timirantasya Gyananjana Shlake Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamscha Navanira the Nindita Kanti Dharam Rasosagar Nagara Bhupavaram Shubhavanki Macharu Shikhanda Shikhim Bhaja Krishna Nidhim Vrajaraj Sutam Radhika Saroda Indu Nindi Mukha Mandali Vandiye Shri Pada Padma Vrishabhanu Nandini Vandiye Shri Pada Padma Vrishabhanu Nandini Vandiye Shri Pada Padma Vrishabhanu Nandini. So my humble obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnavas, my hundreds of obeisances unto all Prabhupada disciples and senior Vaishnavas present, and my thousands and thousands of obeisances to His Divine Grace Prabhupada and our Brahmavada Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guru Varga. May the words that emanate from my mouth be pleasing to them and perfect in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Hare Krishna. So this is a very interesting fact that has been depicted in this particular verse, number 44, wherein It is mentioned that the great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of the Supreme Lord, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. So what are those features, or what are those activities of the Lord that is being portrayed here? So that is basically the depiction here is the activities of the Lord, where there is creation, different parts of the material worlds and the spiritual worlds. And typically speaking, just very briefly, understanding how creation happens is Krishna, Vrajendranandan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the approximately 16 years, 15 years and 9 months old, Kishore Krishna, in Golok Vrindavan, he expands himself simultaneously on a right as the Sandhini Shakti, Lord Balram, and on his left, he expands as the Haladini Shakti, Srimati Radharani. And he himself is known as the Samvit Shakti. And through the agency of Lord Balram, he creates all the spiritual universes, as well as through his sub-agents, the material universes. So Lord Balram is actually the cause, we can say, of all creation, because Krishna doesn't really take direct part in it. He is a coward boy in Golok Vrindavan, and he has got nothing to do, honestly speaking, besides just relishing his pastimes with his pure devotees. So Lord Balram, through him, and there are, in Golok Vrindavan being the topmost planet, under Golok Vrindavan is the second topmost planet known as the Mathura Mandal in the spiritual world. And there Lord Balram has his first quadruple expansion as Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And then below Mathura is Dwarka, the planet Dwarka in the spiritual sky. And the Sankarshan from the first quadruple expansion expands again into another four, and again in Vasudev, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. He expands. And from that Sankarshan, or known as Mahashankarshan, the other different personalities in Vaikuntha, they appear. Like the different Vishnus, the different Lord Narayana forms, and the other different avatars like Lord Ramachandra, etc. So all these avatars, they actually come from Mahasankarshan. And obviously we have three different Vishnus: Karanodakshai Vishnu, the one who reclines in the causal ocean; the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, once Mahavishnu from his exhalation creates millions and millions of universes. Those universes are empty. And then he further expands himself into another form known as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Garbha Sagar is in the bottom of every universe, and that is actually the pure transcendental perspiration of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And then in every Brahman, he reclines as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and from his navel emanates Lord Brahma. So as many Brahmans, which are there is millions, there are millions and millions of Garbhodakshai Vishnus lying in the bottom of each Brahman, and millions of respective Brahmas are created from his lotus navel. And within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 planetary systems, the 7 hellish planetary systems, middle earthly planet, and the 6 heavenly planets. And this comprises only about 25% of the entire creation. 75% is the spiritual world of Vaikunthas, in which Golok Vrindavan is the topmost. So in the different chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, All these things are described by the different transcendentalists. And transcendentalists can know, they can have the gyan or the knowledge of the opulence of the Lord. So here in this particular verse, these transcendentals describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of God, and it indicates it's His opulence. But the amazing part is that those who are devotees, they deserve more information than this. They deserve more than the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. In Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned, Panthastu koti shatvatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi manaso muni pungavana so api asti yad prapadisimni achintya tatve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. After many yogis and transcendentalists, they sit in yogic postures for thousands and millions of years. Panthastu koti. Koti means millions or thousands, multiples of hundreds of thousands. They sit in meditation. And what is the result that they get? They get some knowledge or some glimpse, which is only the light or the effulgence that emanates from the toenail of Sri Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, it is said that because the Vaikuntha planets and Gola Vrindavan is full of effulgent souls, pure Vaishnavas. So because of that effulgence, there is a barrier known as the Brahma Jyoti between the spiritual worlds and between the material worlds. On the border of the material world is Karunadaksha Jala, or known as the Viraja, where Lord Mahavishnu reclines. And right above it is the Brahma Jyoti, the undifferentiated Brahman, which Srila Prabhupada refers to in his purports, that he says, the Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of his different energies, but he is more than a simple creator and a destroyer, for there is a feature of ananda or pleasure. And the impersonalists are satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord, mainly the Brahma Jyoti, where it is bereft of the three modes of material nature: Tamogun, Rajagun, and Satagun, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. But there is no personalities present. It is simply an undifferentiated light which is a feature of the Lord, which is his effulgence, combined with the effulgence of all the spiritual planets and the beings, the Vaishnavas in the spiritual planets, they're effulgent. We all know that when we see a photo depicted, like say Jesus Christ or some great prophet, we see that there is a halo, there is an effulgence that emanates out of the purity. So there is all these pure devotees. 75% of the inhabitants of the entire creation are in the Vaikuntha Loka. So can you imagine, all are fully effulgent and they're full of potency. So therefore, from their light, the light or the potency that emanates a complete layer or a barrier known as the Brahma Jyoti. And Brahma Jyoti is the last snare. And one can cross that and then enter into the per se region of Vaikuntha, where there is the different personalities of Godhead, where personal service can be rendered, then that can give us ananda or pleasure. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in many of his writings that as far as the soul is concerned, the eternal dharma of the soul, or the eternal constitutional position of the soul, is two. What is that? It is service and happiness, seva and ananda. And the Brahma Jyoti, there is no seva, and therefore they cannot really get that permanent ananda. So one has to serve the Supreme Lord either here, as we can see in the deity forms of Shishi, Radha, Vrindavan, Chandra, Nitai, Gaur, Gopalnath Ji, Narsinghadev Bhagavan, Prahlad Narsinghadev Ji, Lord Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Devi, serving the deity of Sri Guru, Srila Prabhupada, that gives us the total real ananda, the real pleasure, which the Mayavadis have been bereft of. They may have some knowledge of the creation, but they do not. And then Srila Prabhupada mentions that there are certain transcendentalists who are better than the Mayavadis because they understand the Paramatma feature of the Lord as the super soul who is situated in everybody's heart. And he is the one, actually an expansion of Garbhodaksai Vishnu, the second Vishnu known as Shirodaksai Vishnu, who expands in everybody's heart, in every atom. Anda anucharantam param anucharantamasta govindamadi purusham tamaham bhayami. In every atom, we find the feature of the expansion of Krishna known as Paramatma. The four-armed form that is in a standing feature. If somebody has seen the cover of Isha Upanishad, we find that feature of Paramatma. And that is one of the reasons those who are scientifically inclined in the structure of the atom, there is a center is the nucleus, and there is protons and electrons that are revolving in a structure of an atom. And in the nucleus, just like within our hearts, which is the nucleus of our body, resides Paramatma. In the nucleus, the Paramatma himself resides in every atom. And unfortunately, when human beings, they're forced to break that atom through the nuclear fusion or whatever you call that, the explosions, Paramatma is extremely disappointed at that time. And he leaves with a lot of anger. And that is why it creates such energy, destructive energy, the nuclear explosions, the atom bomb, because the structure of the atom is artificially broken without the desire, and that only brings destruction. And as we know, nuclear weapons brings nothing but only destruction and fear and simply discomfort. That's happening, and we can see right now that's happening in the world on the global front with the war between Ukraine and Russia, and in United States is very cautious, because if they kind of directly interfere, then there's definitely going to be a world war, and that will be unstoppable, and there will be a nuclear Armageddon, because all these weapons that have been lined up by all these major countries are nothing but weapons of destruction, where they artificially break the atom and a nuclear explosion happens, a nuclear bomb. That's how it is designed, which is very asuric in nature, demoniac. So having said that, Prabhupada mentions that the Paramatma feature, the yogis who sit in the yoga dharana, the Ashtanga yoga positions and practicing for millions and millions of years, some of the yogis in the Siddha Lokas, that is there in the heavenly planets, they meditate for thousands of years on the Paramatma feature. And when the perfection is attained, they see the super soul in their own hearts, and they see super soul in everybody's heart. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita that a pure Brahmin who has Tattva Darshana, who has seen the truth, he can see the Paramatma in a dog, in an elephant, in a Brahmana. He can see the Paramatma feature everywhere. So commonly known as Vishnu. Vishnu, if we translate from Sanskrit into English, means all-pervading. He is present everywhere, in every atom, in every place, wherever. Yato yato yami tato narsingho, bahir narsingho, hridaye narsingho, narsingam adim sharanam prapade. And yato yato yami, wherever I go, he's present. Prahlad Maharaj's mood is like that. When Hiranyakashipu said that, I tried to kill you in different ways. I sent all my demons and demoniac personalities, but somehow or the other you got saved. You have so much faith in your Hari, in your Lord. Now, look at me. I am a very powerful demon, and I'm going to personally kill you. Let me see if your Hari can save you. Where is your Hari? And Prahlad with full faith says, Sri Hari, he is present everywhere. Oh, is he present in this pillar? Yes, he is. And Hiranyakashipu being demoniac, let me see. He expressed his 10,000 strength of elephants and smashed the pillar, and out came Sri Hari in the form of Narahari as Narsinghadev. Narsinghadev Bhagwan ki jai. So these are the different features that one can actually, the transcendentalists can gradually from, and the Paramatma feature, then they can, the better transcendentalist is when they can actually see the feature of Bhagwan, the personality. Srila Prabhupada is so amazing. He coined this phrase. Prior to coming to ISKCON, I was studying different philosophies and reading different philosophies from different philosophers, but never ever had I heard this, even reading books from the different Hindus, or the Sanatan Dharmis. But in English, of course, I read those, but nobody mentioned any such thing as the supreme personality of God or personality. So here, this is the higher version. Like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Brahmaneti, Paramatma iti, Bhagwan iti Shabhyate. There are three features of the Lord. The most basic being is effulgence, Brahman. The second one being the Paramatma, the all-pervading feature where he's present everywhere, in every atom, in everybody's heart. And the third feature, his personal presence as a person, just like I can see you all seated here and you can see me. We can see their Lordship Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra. They are so graciously present. The Pran Pratishthit deities. That is why we do not call them murtis. A lot of the folks from the Indian background, they say, oh, they are nice statues or murtis. No, statues are of leaders like Gandhi and Nehru or some Lenin or Marx. But not of, these are deities. Deities means they are real personalities. It is just that he's so kind due to Kripa Leela, he comes down in his form as the deity. And he is simply standing there for hours just to give us darshan. And when we, with love, offer him, and when our bhakti fructifies further, then the deities reciprocate. Many a time, when we have that bhava, we see that the deity is the person. He smiles. Vrindavan Chandra. Radharani has a slight smile. Sometimes she is frowning. Gopal Nanji, we see that sometimes he has a very nice, beautiful smile, a naughty smile on his face, and sometimes he is very, very shanta and very grave. We see that in the features of the deities. If we look very carefully, and if we have the bhav, we see that they reciprocate. In Vrindavan, there is one specific deity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Radha Ramanji. And Radha Ramanji is so beautiful. It is said that he is a combination of these three personalities, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govindevji, and Radha Gopinathji. The grandson of Krishna, Vajranath, he asked his grandmothers, can you describe what my grandfather looked like? So one of the grandmothers said that his face was like this. So Vajranath described that personality to the sculptor. This is what my grandfather's face looked like. And another grandmother said, this is what he looked. And we are talking about the queens of Dwarka here, 16,108. So when Vajranath asked, what did he look like on his chest look like, his bodily features? So then one of the queens elaborately described Krishna, and then he described that to the sculptor. What were the thighs on his lotus feet like? So like that, the lotus feet are Madan Mohan, the navel and the upper body is Govindevji, and the lotus faces of Gopinath. So like this. So Radha Raman, we have practically seen it. We've been very fortunate. Sometimes he's just tight-lipped, his lips are closed. But sometimes we find that he opens his mouth and you can see a couple teeth. And sometimes when he is very happy, you can see more than a full row of teeth. This is practically experienced by the servant. We have seen it practically. And so that is the bhava, the personality. A person means sentient. When Srila Prabhupada wrote that poem glorifying Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada on his Vyas Puja, and I believe that was in 1935, the last Vyas Puja. Prabhupada was in Bombay Gaudiya Math. And he wrote this poem in English: adore, adore ye all the happy days, sweeter than heaven, brighter than May, when he appeared in Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. And in that poem, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada mentions absolute ascension, thou hast proved, impersonal calamity, thou hast removed. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so much full of pride. And he showed this poem to everybody that visited the Gaudiya Math. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Absolute ascension. Ascension means a conscious person. Chetana, Chaitanya. Chaitanya means a living. So, one who can experience that feature or serve in that feature of personalism is very fortunate, and one can get ananda. Srila Prabhupada says. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are many Vedantists, but those Vedantists, they understand the Vedas through impersonalism and other features besides personalism without giving priority to the personalism. So they study the Vedas. All the disciples of Shankaracharya, they were too much into studying the Vedas and the grammar. And at the end, what did Shankaracharya say? Lord Shankaracharya, who is none other than Lord Shiva, he instructed his disciples, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Buddhamate. Govinda, 3 times. Worship Govinda. Govind means he is a personality. What does Govind mean? There are several meanings of the word Govinda. Go means cows, and Vinda means pleasure, one who gives pleasure to the cows. Go means our senses. When devotees serve Krishna, we automatically, our senses are so satisfied, we are in Ananda. Whether it is Kirtan or we cook a nice Rajbhog for Krishna, or we just do nice Sringar, we decorate Krishna. There are so many different activities that one can personally serve Sri Krishna, either in the deity form, and those who are highly exalted in person, they serve Sri Krishna. So this feature gives you gives us the real Ananda. So this is the very, very important. So these Vedantists, they unfortunately, their knowledge is covered Maya Aparita Jnana, by Maya actually, because that is the last snare of Maya, thinking that they are merging into the Supreme Lord. They're thinking that they are going to annihilate their existence and they become one. They say, so aham. That's what they say. Soham means I am he. That is the mantra they chant. That is what they propagate. But that's not what the Vaishnavas, the real Ananda of the Vaishnava is completely different. As depicted, that is why Prabhupada is, and all our pure acharyas in the Sampradaya, they are known as Bhakti Vedantists. They are Vedantists. What does Vedanta mean? Vedanta means, it's a combination of 2 words in Sanskrit, Ved plus Anta. Ved means Vedas, knowledge, material and spiritual knowledge, Veda. And Anta means conclusion. So the conclusion of Vedas is known as Vedanta. Vyasadeva, originally he compiled the Rig Veda. And Rig Veda was so complicated that he had to divide it into 3 further divisions: Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. And then further, in order to even explain that, he used to sit, just like Srila Prabhupada wrote his Bhakti Vedanta purports, he used to sit and give purports on those verses. And all his disciples used to gather sit at his lotus feet, and that is called known as Upanishads. Upa means to sit close to the Guru and hearing. And then his disciples compiled the different Upanishads on whatever they had heard from Guru Vyasadeva. So, for example, in the Isopanishad, it is mentioned that Vyuho Rasmin Somuha Teja Yatte Rupam Kalyana Tamam Tatte Pashyami. 16th verse. The devotee is saying that I have already experienced your effulgence. Now, my dear Krishna, please remove this curtain of effulgence so that I can see you as it is in a personal form. This is the prayer, mantra 16 in the Isopanishad. So, like this, and then he had to expound further the principles of Vedic spirituality in the form of Puranas, etc. And then what he did is he made a whole sort of a book, like an acronyms, that is known as Vedanta Sutras. Sutras are small acronyms. Where the first one is Janmadi Yasya, only 2 words, meaning Janam, creation, Adi, etc. O Krishna, the creation, the sustenance, and the destructions, you are, and everything comes from you. So that's the first acronym of Vedanta Sutra. The second acronym, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, one must inquire about spiritual life. Athato means, so these are, some of them are just 2 words or 4 words. They are incomplete sentences, but it gives us a clue what Vyasadeva is talking about. Athato, therefore. So what is that for? Therefore, one must inquire. Why? Because we've got this human form of life, one must inquire about this spiritual truth. Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So Prabhupada is Bhakti Vedantist. He sees everything in relation to the supreme personality of God. Personality. Everything in relation to him. Therefore, he is known as Bhakti Vedantist. The Vedantists are many. And Shankaracharya said, leave all your grammatical studying and logic and vyakran. Samprabdha samhita kale nahi rakshati dukkare. At the end of your life, this grammatical and this Vedic knowledge of this undifferentiated Brahman and all the kinds of logics and meanings that you are deriving from this Sanskrit study is not going to protect you at the time of death. Bhaja Govinda. So Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the devotees, anyone who takes his names. Govinda also means, Go means Gokul. Go means Golok. And Vinda means one who gives pleasure to all the Golokvasis, all the Gokulvasis. Go means Gopis. Go means Gopas. So Govinda, one who gives pleasure, Ananda, to the Gopis and the Gopas. That is Govinda. So we have seen that how do you get into this Ananda feature? So we have to learn, and in this particular verse, the point that is mentioned is pure devotees deserve to see more. Pure devotees deserve to see more. So if somebody is worshipping Krishna in the Brahman feature or the Paramatma feature, and if somebody is worshipping Krishna in his personal feature, is it not logical that they deserve to see more? Srila Prabhupada said that we know the name of Krishna's father and mother. Most of the entire people in this whole world who are following different faiths, those who believe, they use the word God. Even if they are personal, the maximum that they say is God is great, etc. But Prabhupada said they don't know how great he is. We know God's name, we know God's many names, we know God's father, God's mother, God's friends, God's associates, God's residence, where he lives, we know. Now, that is a very special Ananda. And today I chose this song instead of Jai Radha Madhav, is because I was just meditating on this particular verse. And in this particular Nectarian Glories of Rajna, it is very clear that those devotees who worship Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Vraj Bhav, then obviously they will get a special ananda. They deserve to know more. And we know through so many different teachings of the pure Vaishnava Acharyas and through their Vaishnava songs, we know we deserve to know more about Krishna's features. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, his most beloved Radharani, glories to her, his beloved home, Vrindavan, glories, we get information. But if you go outside and ask any Christians or any followers of Islam or any followers of the Jewish faith or any other different faiths, those who are theists, we ask them, do you know where God lives? Some will say God lives in heaven. So God is, of course, he's present everywhere, but in his personality feature, where one can actually interact with him, serve him personally, he has got so many different homes or planets in the spiritual sky, and Golok Vrindavan, or Vrindavan being the topmost. Therefore, Krishna Das is saying, Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan. Just to take a few names he's taking. I take the name of this, my dear beloved Krishna, as the Govinda, Govind Devji, that appeared to Rup Goswami in the feature, who is none other than the Abhidhyay deities. There are three features where one can advance in Krishna consciousness. The first is Sambandha. And who is the Sambandha deity? Who do we pray to? We pray to Madan Mohanji. So Madan Mohanji he appeared to Sanatana Goswami. Sri Govinda, Gopinath, and Gopinath is the ultimate, known as the Prayojan, the ultimate goal. So first is the relationship, second is the process of establishing that relationship, and third is the attainment of that relationship. And who gives us the special benediction? Gopinath. Gopinath. So here he is describing the personalities. And what does Gopinath mean? The Lord of all the gopis. But our Rasika Acharya is like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And the wonderful Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya says Gopinath has a second meaning also. And for them it is primary. Gopis are the Nath. Gopis are the masters in Vrindavan. They make Krishna dance. They control Krishna. A master controls whoever is subordinate to them. So Gopinath also means the gopis of Vrindavan, especially that special gopi, Radharani. So this gives us the ananda. The devotees, the Vaishnavas deserve more, especially those Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shyamakunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan. Knowing about the different pastimes that Krishna performed with the most intimate associates, the gopis of Vrindavan in the Madhurya Rasa, in conjugal Rasa, in Radhakund and Shyamkund in Giri Govardhan, in the feature of the great mountain Giri Govardhan. He showed special mercy. Govardhan is also known as Haridasa Varyam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular word is used. What does Haridas mean? Hari means Krishna, and Das means servant. So we all are Haridas, right? The servants of Krishna, right? What did Mahaprabhu say? What's your identity? Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayo Dasanu Dasanu Das. So we are the servants of the servants of the servants of the maintainer of the gopis, the Nandan Nandan, Brajendra Nandan, Sri Krishna. So coming to this point about the Govardhan. Govardhan has many features. He himself is Krishna Nandan Nandan. Govardhan is also Srimati Radharani manifest. And Govardhan is considered as the topmost servant, the topmost Vaishnava. How is that so? So we know 7 days and 7 nights he served the Vrajvasis, Giriraji, by sheltering them. He serves the Vrajvasis by giving them so many different fruits and so many different vegetables and so many different natural elements for their pleasure. That is why he's known as Govardhan. What does Govardhan mean? Go means, again, the same thing that I explained earlier. Go means the senses of the devotees of the Vrajvasis. Go means Gokul. Go means Golo. Go means gopis. Go means Gopas, and Vardhanam means to increase. It constantly, Govardhan increases their love when one worships Govardhan for Krishna. So he is Haridas Varyam. Varyam means the topmost servant. Krishna in his feature as Govardhan, he becomes the topmost Vaishnava, Haridas Varyam. Bhajamiyam Haridas Varyam. Bhajamyaham Haridas Varyam. In Pushti Marg in the Vallabh Sampradaya, one great Vaishnava Acharya has written the glories of Girirajji. Sanatana Goswami has composed the glories of Girirajji. Raghunath Das Goswami has composed wonderful prayers. And there these words are used, Haridas Varyam. So, Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavati. Where did Krishna play? Where did he bathe? In the Jamuna. All glories to all these different places where he Jahasab Leela Kailo Sri Nandan, where he performed his different parts, Dwadashakanam, in the 12 forests of Vrindavan. All glories to his father, Nanda Maharaj, Jai Nanda. All glories to his mother, Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys. We see them right there. Shri Ramadi Jai 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 Dhenu Vatsagana. All the cowherd boys, all glories to them. All glories to the father and mother of Radharani. We even know the father and mother's names. Jai Jai Vrishabhanu. Kirtida Sundari. All glories to them. Jaya Purnamasi. Purnamasi is that personality in Golok, in Vrindavan. She makes all the arrangements for the pleasure of Radha Krishna, for the pleasure of all the devotees. Along with Vrinda Devi, Purnamasi, Vrinda Devi, they and Yogamaya, these three, they're actually non-different. But for the sake of Leela, they are three different personalities who always orchestrate different pastimes of Krishna to make them enhanced. And in Golok Vrindavan or in Vrindavan, the highest bliss is that when we enter into Raganuga Bhakti, into the personality of Godhead, when we find that pleasure, there will come a time after pure sadhana bhakti, we will enter into the mood of the Vrajvasis, Raganuga Bhakti. And how do we enter that? By following the footsteps of the Vrajvasis. Raghunath Das Goswami says in the Manasiksha. By following the footsteps of the Vrajvasis, we enter into Raganuga Bhakti. Every day we sing in the Guru Puja, Chakshudana Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Sei Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. So not only just sadhana bhakti about simply knowing that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but when we perform our sadhana bhakti, minimum 16 good rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles nicely, chant the holy name, associate with the devotees, read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, etc., then by the mercy of Madan Mohanji, Govind Devji will take over through that process. The Abhidya Acharya, Sri Rupa Goswami, will bless us and they will pull us. Srila Prabhupada will take us to a different dimension and open new doors into Raganuga Bhakti, into Vraj Bhakti. And that, when we enter that part, we will forget that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Right now, we have to be reminded that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Again and again and again. But there will come a time when we enter into that bhava. Krishna, so what? We heard that you do all these magical feats and you're killing, but and sometimes Vrajvasis get a glimpse, Mother Yashoda gets a glimpse when Krishna yawns or opens his mouth when he's eating mud. Open your mouth and she sees all the universes. And then she just kind of, oh, he's just my darling boy. And I'm seeing things. I'm hallucinating, she's thinking, due to the illusion of Vishnu, which is Maya. I'm seeing all these things. Actually, my boy is a very darling boy, baby, but I'm just imagining that I saw that he is the Supreme Lord and everything is, all the universes are emanating from him. So when we enter into that bhava, and at the end, Dina Krishna Das is saying, Jai Jai Ujjwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar Parkiya Bhave Jaha Vrajeta Prachar. That Ujjwala Rasa is only the what should I say, the specialty that is granted to the Vrajvasis, and within Vrajvasis to those who are in conjugal love, conjugal rasa, Madhurya rasa, as depicted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yadi gaur na hoito, tabe ki hoito, kemone dharitam de, Radhara mahima, prema rasa sima, jagat janat ke. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come, what would have happened? We would have not known the glories of Radharani and what is the highest pinnacle of love that Radharani possesses. So like this, we find that if we are perfected, then when we get our bhav finally in Krishna Prem, then we will be a part of the 8 Ashtakaliya Leela, right from the different parts of the day. When we enter into that mood, the Ratri Kal from 12 to 3:30, the most intimate in the bowers of Vrindavan, the Manjaris and the Gopis gather to serve Krishna. The Nishant Leela from 3:30 to 6 in the morning, when it's time for them to go home, and that's the time when we sing the Mangal Arati. This Mangal Arati is what? Is actually waking up Radha and Krishna from their amorous pastimes and to remind them, go home. Because your mother-in-law is going to find out. Mother Yashoda put you to sleep at about 8:30 last night. And if she finds that you're not in bed when she wakes up, then they'll be upset. They'll be worried. That's called Nishanta Leela. After that, there's the Prataha, morning, where Krishna goes to sleep until probably 6 a.m. or something, and 6:37, and then he's woken up by Mother Yashoda by wonderful lullabies, not lullabies, by wonderful songs to wake him up. And then the different activities happen from 8:30 to 11. Purvavahani takes the cows in the meadows of Vrindavan with his cowherd friends. And then in the Madhyan Leela, the gopis come in a secluded place and meet Krishna when he's cowherding. Like that, there are all these different activities. Aparna Ahana, which is from 3:30 to 6 p.m. when Krishna is coming back from cowherding. And then the Shayan Kal from 6 to 8:30, the time when Mother Yashoda feeds Krishna and puts him to sleep. And then Krishna escapes from his house in the Pradosha Leela at about 8:30 or at about midnight, at 12 to 12:30. He goes into the forest and enters into the Madhurya Rasa. So this is real Ananda in that feature, which is not possible when we have just knowledge of the creation, or we have knowledge about the Paramatma feature, or knowledge of the Brahman feature. So thank you very much. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Sri Govinda Gopinath, Madana, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So anyways, any questions, reflections quickly, if anybody has, please feel free to express them. Bottom line is, devotees deserve more. That's what it is. More. That is a declaration of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just not the opulent feature, just not any other feature, but the sweetness. Sri Krishna, sweetness. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Gurudev.